The 2X KO Alpha Lab is officially over. And if you're like a lot of my friends, this might be the first true taste of fighting games you've ever had. The rush of the scramble, the feeling of finesse as you finally nail that combo you've been grinding out in training mode. There really is nothing else out there like fighting games. But if this is your first exposure to fighting games, then there might be a big old 2X KO shaped void in your heart that you don't know what to do with. Waiting until the next playtest sounds like agony. If that sounds like you, well, you're in luck. 2X KO takes a lot of inspiration from games that came before it. Based off of what you liked in Alpha Lab, you might be able to find something to hold you over and scratch a similar itch. I'm going to go over a few key things about 2X KO that separates it from most other titles and create criteria for games you might also enjoy. First, 2X KO is a tag fighter, so this means picking up multiple characters at once to duke it out. Compared to other fighters, the assistant tag fighters usually make for faster paced games with more hectic action. Even though it's faster than more grounded games like Street Fighter, 2X KO is still on the slower and more grounded side when it comes to tag fighters. These games also use a sequence of light, medium, heavy buttons for their combo and offense pressure, also known as Magic Series. Second is accessibility. Some newer players find motion inputs to be a complete deal breaker, and I'm not here to try and change your mind about them. Keep in mind though, this doesn't mean every game on this list is going to be motion input free. That's because there's also the other end of the spectrum, and that's criteria number 3. Players who go to Riot titles for their complexity and high skill ceiling. Riot titles are often driven by competition. They're often lifestyle games specifically made to be difficult, so players can really sink their teeth into them. So some of you might have come out of Alpha Lab feeling like you want more of a challenge now that you conceptually understand stuff like neutral, offense, and defense better. You might not mind if a game has motion inputs so long as that game can keep you invested for hundreds of hours. Finally, free to play. Fighting games can be expensive, both in terms of time, but also money.
People say this, I'm not going to spend $60 on a fighting game where there's going to be nobody to play with in like 3 months. I'm not going to spend $60 on a fighting game if I'm just going to play the arcade mode a couple of times, or I'm going to go online just to get my ass beat.
2X KO is particularly alluring thanks to its free-to-play model. Free-to-play models are pretty rare in fighting games, but I'll do my best to recommend some games that fit the bill. So in summary, we're looking at games that are grounded tag fighters with a low skill floor, high skill ceiling, and free-to-play. The games I'm going to recommend aren't going to fit all the criteria, but I think it's better for you to choose what game you'd want to play based off of what you liked and disliked about 2X KO. We'll also mostly be looking at games that have good netcode so people can play online. These might not be the most popular games on the market, but I would say if you're willing to give them a try, there's a good chance you'll like them. Without further ado, let's get into some recommendations. X KO has been compared to BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle a lot, and for good reason. They're both 2v2 tag games with an emphasis on beginner friendliness, and it's even where Riot got the inspiration for the handshake tag fuse. Like 2X KO, it is fairly grounded neutral for a tag fighter. Combo execution is not nearly as difficult as some other tag fighters, so if you can do 2X KO bread and butters, then BB tag combos shouldn't be too far out of reach either. BB tag also has a mechanic similar to how Double Down works in 2X KO, where you can tag out a character after using a super to follow up with a tag super. This specific mechanic is known as Delayed Hyper Combo, often abbreviated as DHC. In general, most team games give access to DHC without having to opt into it like with the Fuse system, and every game in the Tag Fighter section will have some variation of DHC. This game, also being the origin of the handshake tag, can have some seriously nasty cross-up setups that go back and forth between two characters called sandwiches. Between character-specific setups and team-building strategy, much of the high-level play in this game is about matchup knowledge and creating teams with good synergy. Do be warned that while the game does go on sale from time to time, a large majority of its cash is locked behind DLC, so only buying the base game will lock you out of near 2/3 of the entire game's roster. You'll have to pick up the special edition or the DLC character separately for all the game's characters. Currently, as of the release of this video, the special edition is available on Game Pass, so if you have a Game Pass subscription, you can play it there too. Another game that has a good chunk of similarities to 2X KO is Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. It's a 3v3 tag game that doesn't have motion inputs and plenty of combo potential. Maybe even a little too much combo potential. Like 2XKO, it has fairly grounded neutral for a tag fighter, but with 3 character teams, neutral is more often based around flinging around assists, similar to the Marvel vs. Capcom series. One of the most common criticisms of 2XKO was the game's combo length. But if that's something that you enjoyed, you should definitely check this game out. With no burst mechanic, at the highest level, it's a fast game where even a single mistake can lead to losing a character. If you like the explosive damage output of 2XKO, fighting optimized or even touch of death combos, then Battle for the Grid might be up your alley. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is the latest installment in the Marvel vs. Capcom series, and while it wasn't very popular on release,
what the fuck is wrong with your face? What the fuck?
It's undeniable that Riot most likely took some inspiration from this game. It's a 2v2 tag fighter with a mechanic similar to the fuses called Infinity Stones. Infinity Stones give your characters a shared ability alongside an Infinity Storm effect that gives your characters new properties. Like 2XKO, instead of having normal assist calls like you do in other tag fighters, you can call out your assist to take control of while your point is doing something else. This means you can fire a projectile into approach from your assist, use a super and approach from your assist, and more. And if the game is visually off-putting to you, Maximilian Dude and his team are putting together a mod that revamps the visuals and rebalances the game. It's not fully released yet, but it's worth noting. The championed game of current 2XKO god, Sonic Fox, Skullgirls is a tag game with dynamic team sizes. This means that you have the option of just fighting with 2 or even 1 character as opposed to the normal 3, with damage being scaled appropriate to your team size.
Solophilia!
So if you want to play games with just 2 characters, then you could get by in this game too. This game is played around its infinite protection system, otherwise known as IPS. When IPS detects a loop in your combo, it gives the opponent the option to burst out. This means people can bait bursts with IPS or drop combos early to mess up their opponent's defense time. This is known as a reset. For beginners, what makes Skullgirls difficult is the fact that it can be hard to tell when you're being reset. Getting reset makes you look like you're stuck in a really long combo, but combos in Skullgirls are generally not too long if you aren't extending them with assists. But in my opinion, Skullgirls is one of the most hyped games to watch and has some of the most unique characters I've seen in any fighting game. It regularly goes on sale for less than a cup of coffee, so it's worth a pickup at the price tag of the other games is a little daunting to you. This game is free to play with a pretty big asterisk. You can only play as Gran and a few other characters in the free to play rotation, but you do have access to training and online play in this free version. You could try the free version, and if you like it, purchase the full version on sale if you want to pick up characters outside of just Gran consistently. Granblue has motion inputs, but they also give you the option to use a special button like 2XKO. Like 2XKO, the game is pretty grounded, and they also have a block button if you prefer holding a button to block instead of holding back. If you're one of the people who thought the combo length was too long in 2XKO and want to focus more on neutral interactions, then this might be the game for you. Okay, hear me out on this one. Yes, Actress Again isn't the latest installment in this series. It's old, and the game definitely shows its age compared to its sequel, Type Lumina. Type Lumina has auto combos, which makes it a bit easier to get into compared to Actress Again, which doesn't. So why Actress Again over Type Lumina? Because, well, it's free. Actress Again is an older game that's no longer supported by its creators. In other words, it's abandonware. So in the same way that people are allowed to play Melee online with Slippy, Community Edition exists in a similar sort of legal gray area. Getting online to work can be a bit janky, but the game is still fun to play to this day. This game uses Magic Series, but unlike other games, you can press the buttons in any order so long as you don't repeat them. This mechanic is called reverse beat, and it lets you be more flexible on offense by turning unsafe buttons into safe options, or even making sequences that'll catch your opponent's mashing, also called frame traps, on the fly. There are some combos that work with the majority of the cast, so picking up even one of these will make the process of learning the game much faster. Combined with the fact that the game has 3 separate system mechanics you can use per character, known as the Moon System, you end up with a game with lots of different ways to try and play different characters. That being said, if you do enjoy the game, consider supporting the developers French Bread by buying the Steam release of the game. Finally, a fighting game that's free to play with no strings attached. This game's not a tag fighter, but it does have the option to use simple inputs over motion inputs, rollback, netplay online, training mode, and all the other bells and whistles completely free. The game is beginner friendly with plenty of depth. Since it has magic series, you can pick up combos pretty quickly with a basic light, medium, heavy into special, and there's also plenty of longer combo strings too. It's a surprisingly complete package for a free-to-play fan project. That being said, a lot of the fighters are based off of in-jokes of the VTubers themselves. So if you don't like VTubers, then maybe this one's not for you. There are a lot of games I considered adding to this list. I avoided games I know are more popular, but don't quite fit someone who really liked 2XKO might be looking for. But hopefully within this list of games, maybe you found a game that speaks to you. So now what? Chances are, especially if you've been mostly grinding out 2v2 in 2XKO, you probably have a buddy or two who's also itching for their 2XKO fix. You could also get those people to try out these games with you and see what sticks. The games I listed won't have as active as a player base as a 2XKO Alpha Lab, so having friends to pick up the game with alongside you will help a lot. But if you don't have anyone to play with, it might feel a bit daunting to step into these games alone. In that case, most of these games have some sort of Discord that you can join to try and find other people at a beginner level. Outside of game-specific Discords, you can also join Discords like Sajam's Hoop Squad Discord too. In my experience, the fighting game community is welcoming and people are eager to share their hobby with anybody and everybody. If 2XKO is the game that broke the barrier of entry into the genre for you, then I highly recommend you pick up a new game while you wait for the full release of 2XKO. It doesn't even have to be a game from this list. I chose the games on this list because of the similarities they have to 2XKO, but you should play whatever game looks coolest to you. So many of my favorite gaming memories come from this genre.
Oh my god, no! Okay! Oh my god! How did he do that?
So trust me, it's gonna be worth it.
Fighting game is something so great. Thank you so much.